Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. It's a podcast about how everything is slowly but surely getting much worse.
So how we feeling? How was our days?
It was great, just a lovely Sunday afternoon in Melbourne, Australia. The smell of one nation rising in the morning. Just the poles are rising and so is their
am
smell.
I.
Yeah. And we are obviously a news and politics podcast, and obviously the reason why we bring that up is our first story of
Nothing
the
up
week.
this week. Nothing really happened.
Nothing happened.
No.
The big thing is that,
Do you guys want to talk about heated rivalry, or I hear it's really horny?
I have heard it's really good.
Yeah.
Unrealistically skips, I think, the important douching steps of that a lot of gay men have to go through in order to have maybe such an active sexual relationship. But Hollywood's decided no one wants to see that. So who am I to judge?
I'm so glad that we got onto anal douching, Tom, because the stories that we have to talk about this week are so much more upsetting than that.
Libspill 2026 is what we are going to talk about. Libspill 2026.
Hashtag on. It's on and it's over. Almost immediately.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they didn't announce it on a Sunday night.
No.
But they did midweek instead. Just after the Israeli president visited, just really waited for Sussan Ley to greet the Israeli president who's visiting. And then once that was done,
I haven't heard anything about
what?
that.
Nothing's happened at all. And then Angus Taylor decided now is the time, because one thing that's been very apparent over the last few weeks and months is that the Liberals are really good at timing. Really good at just getting that, their public spats out at exactly the right moment. And in this case here, it was just after the Israeli president visited Canberra.
Literally, right? I thought Angus Taylor was okay, well, I need to tend to... I have to resign from my position in Shadow Cabinet in order to do a Libspill later. Oh, but Susan's with President Herzog at the moment. Oh, I think she's tied up. And then he left, and then she's probably sitting in her office going, oh, whew, all right. End of a long day, because this is at 6:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. or something, and then Angus, hey.
Hey, girl, you up?
Hey, how you doing?
Yes.
He slides the resignation letter across the table. Sorry.
Bye. So unified right now as a coalition.
Yeah.
And of course, the way this starts traditionally in a leadership spill, if you're unfamiliar with the national sport of Australia, which is in fact a leadership spill, it starts with the resignations of cabinet or shadow cabinet members, depending on whether you are in government or in opposition, and then a party room meeting is called, and that meeting.
Well, it actually starts with about 2 to 3 months of white anting and wild speculation in the media.
Sure,
sniping, sledging.
Malcolm
backgrounding.
Turnbull coming out calling you a fucking idiot. Yeah,
that's
afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, before and after, but Malcolm's available. He's not busy. He's doing part-time hours. He's
really getting his
SEO
up at this point. He's really just getting his face out there. Anyway, so they called the party room meeting, and Angus Taylor won 34-17, which is a massive change from only a year ago, which was a couple of votes in it. Now it's pretty
Well, I mean, they've had, what's it been, 9-10 months of ammunition against Sussan Ley, right? They've let her, they've given her a go. They shoved her off that glass cliff and go, cool, now we can do it.
Yeah, 9 months was the gestation period for a female leader of the opposition. That's about as long as one could possibly hope for her to last. But of course, as you say, Tom, yes, they had lots of ammunition, but no ammunition is typically better against someone like Sussan Ley than her saying words into a microphone. She was pretty good at providing her own ammunition, as far as I recall. But it turns out the idea to let her have a go until May was no longer operative. So they decided to take the reins back early and really just decide to fully commit to ignoring
they being the
advice.
conservative,
the conservative
party.
I know it's fair to call them a faction if there's like 2/3 of them. That's just the party at that point.
It's a very big faction.
A substantial faction, being a super majority. Yeah, they decided that enough was enough. We need a tough big boy back in there. We need someone like Angus Taylor back in, or as Malcolm Turnbull called him, the most well-qualified idiot you'll ever meet.
Yes. Who is Angus Taylor? Angus Taylor is Peter Dutton's former deputy and Shadow Treasurer, I believe.
Yes, he was.
Really good at math.
Really responsible for not bringing tax cuts to the last election cycle, which was one of the many reasons that they lost handily, was trying to implement this woeful economic agenda, and bringing that to the public. So they thought, given that he's the money guy who was partially behind one of the greatest election losses in coalition history, we should make him the leader. Flawless logic. Great job. Well done, Angus.
Great job. Well done, Angus. Rather than putting Senator Price as his deputy, which was the proposed deputy, but the first time he attempted to gain the Liberal leadership, he's now got, I think it's Jane Hume as the senator, who's the deputy. She's a right-wing nutbar, but she's like, she's like a white lady. She's like within the acceptable bounds of like right-wing nutbar for the Liberal Party. But it's like, look, we got a woman. Look, there you go.
Well, I mean, like, chucking Angus Taylor into the leadership position was really them saying, like, all right, we gave the Chicky Babes a go. We had one. We had a lady lead us. First one ever. Didn't work out, but we tried it. And now, we got us blokes back in because we've set things right. Fantastic.
Go off,
well done.
go
Great
off,
job,
Queen,
Angus.
slay. Yeah. And by go off, we mean go off into the sunset and never return.
Yeah.
It's a good point because she has, in fact, announced that she is going to resign from politics entirely.
Yes.
You know what, though? She did not seem fussed.
She's like, whatever.
Sussan Ley is really like, like when the vibe it gave was like when a woman's been dumped by like a really shitty boyfriend and she's like, oh no.
Just relief. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like redone her hair and she just like is glowing and just like, living her best life. Like it really didn't seem like she was like too busted up over it. So
she's going to go and focus on her personal hobby of aviation, which as someone who
many
was a
have
plane
said,
guy, love that.
Many have said perhaps it is a focus to which she should have devoted the entirety of her professional life rather than straying into politics. But that's...
Wow.
She's been an important servant of the Australian people, George. So many accomplishments include... let me just...
Yep.
Let's hit up the calculator.
Yeah. Hang on, let me tabulate them.
Do you think with her hobby...
And it's just got 0. It's got nothing on there. That's weird.
With her hobby being aviation, I think I missed this quote. This is fascinating. Do you think she has like a sick Microsoft Flight Sim rig at home?
She might.
She's a simmer, for
is
sure.
she running like dual 5090s with like an actual like yoke kind of setup?
Sick.
And maybe she's actually purchased a full-on cockpit which actually has a gimbal.
Wow,
that's
rotation.
baller. Like,
I mean, I made that up. I have no idea. I've no idea what she does. She just dropped that.
I hope it's true. I just formed respect for her as you were speaking.
As a plane guy, I now have a new level of empathy that I can relate to. But yeah, so that does trigger a by-election in her seat of Farah.
By-election, bye.
Which, I guess it's kind of like a little fuck you to Angus, though, as well. It's like, well, I guess you're going to have to fight for the seat now.
Yeah.
As the Nationals and One Nation and the Independents
are gaining traction.
In that seat.
And how our party now our party being the Liberal Party in the media is like looking like an absolute shit show. Go to a by-election now, where sentiment for us is that we're all backstabbing each other and we don't know what we're doing. You might
I'm
just
just
have
gonna-
It's because the sentiment, that's the sentiment, Tom, and that's because that's exactly what is happening.
10,000,000%.
So just got a little clip here of Sussan Ley speaking. I don't know what the status is with this particular piece of software if you guys talk while I've got the share open, so just maybe don't talk just in case.
And to the Parliament of Australia, that has been the most extraordinary workplace for 25 years. The leadership of our party is a gift of the party room, and I respect the decision that they have made. For those who supported me today, I thank you. I thank you. Your loyalty, your unflinching loyalty, I will always appreciate. For those who did not, I genuinely have no hard feelings. I wish Angus Taylor well. I know he has experience, energy, and drive. I know the whole team will have what it takes to fight this awful Labor government. I will be cheering them on.
Look, Lisa, you can pinpoint the exact moment where her heart rips in
Where her
half.
heart breaks.
Where she's
I don't
like,
know,
and
she
for those who didn't support me,
Fuck
you
yes.
see it in her face. Oh
What a joy.
man, that was the most. I know you said, George, earlier she seemed relieved. No, that seemed like the most like just pasted on smile to be like, smile for the cameras, don't look as furious as you are.
I don't know. It seemed to me she was like, I am so keen to get the fuck out of here and not have to deal with you pricks ever again. That was the vibe I got off of
Oh
that.
yeah, definitely that thing of like, oh, you've made your bed now. But
Yeah.
jeez, wow.
So I guess, the by-election will happen, I guess, some point in the next few months.
Yeah, how long do they have to?
It's not too long. They normally happen
Yeah,
pretty quickly. So you're
'cause it's
talking a
not
matter
like-
of 1 to 2 months, I think.
Because
normally.
even though she's resigned, like the resignation is pretty immediate, right? Like they don't stick. It's not like they have a long. It's not like the ScoMo thing of where he just stuck around for ages until he got another job. Like if you resign, you
Well, yeah, she's
You're no
resigned.
longer the member.
She does have a couple of weeks, I think she said, to go around and thank the people that voted for her and stuff. So maybe she's going to stay until the by-election, but that'll be,
Wow.
pretty soon. So
that's
that
got to be
means
a depressing tour around the office.
it would
It's the,
be.
hey, thanks. Thanks
Hey.
for voting for me.
Hi.
It didn't fucking
Hi.
help, but thanks.
Hey, how are
like,
the kids?
yeah, appreciate you.
Good. You good? Because you were on the losing side of an avalanche. So, like, are you good? Or
Are they proud of you?
I hope that's not going to like fuck up your career. Anyway, I'm going to be around for like another 3 or 4 weeks. So I got nothing to do. So just like come say hi. I'm just hanging out in the
Yeah,
office.
you wanna- You want to grab a wine in Monica?
Yeah. Or Braddon.
Braddon.
I hear Barnaby's got a couple of spots that he
Yeah, can
recommends.
hit up the planter box outside the kebab shop, like just near the Pride roundabout.
It's actually just in front of
It's
the car
peak.
wash, as I recall.
There's a kebab joint in that car wash.
In the car
So-
wash.
Oh yeah.
double whammy. You can do both at the
Mm.
same time.
Well, there you go.
Well, yeah.
Missed out on that.
The closer the kebab shop is to a car wash, the better the bab. This is just a mantra that my wife and I have. The best kebabs are the ones adjacent to or just down the road from a car wash.
I mean,
You
and
know-
if it's in a car wash, that's guaranteed
Like,
quality.
It's
it doesn't
perfect.
get better than that.
It's perfect. It's heaven.
Is it a good kebab?
Oh yeah. At the place that Barnaby collapsed
Yeah.
from, I remember it being good. It's been a
There you
while
go.
since I've had a bab from there, but yeah.
No, Barnaby,
recommend.
Barnaby doesn't remember it either, in all fairness.
But one person who doesn't like kebabs is Pauline Hanson, and the reason why,
Outstanding.
the reason
That's going to
why,
sound like it was planned, and I want you to know, listeners, that was not planned.
Fuck you, dude.
the reason why that's important is that the Liberals are freaking the fuck out. And the reason why they're freaking the fuck out is because, and we've spoken about it before on the show, One Nation's polling has skyrocketed in their 29-year history. It's polling above 20%. Is
They got
that
a
important?
rock hard poll. And if we can have a quick look here at the graphic, you can
The graph.
see the graph. I love a graph. The graph. You can see that these are the 2025 federal election results. We've got the orange down here. One Nation, Pauline Hanson's One Nation, featuring Pauline Hanson.
6%.
At 6%. And their polling is currently at well, depending on who you ask, between 22 and 26%. So the Australian Labor parties had a slight bleed in their vote, going from 35% at the last election to 30% at the primary vote. The LNP has cratered from 32% to 22%, largely reflecting the fact that they're a basket case and nobody likes them, and it's a palace of shitheads. And it seems as though old, angry white people without formal education are flocking, they are running, not walking, to One Nation as a result. So...
and people that live in the country as well as the regional voters is the other important demographic there.
Yeah,
as we can see from this graph, the people who are flocking to them the most are people coming from the LNP. There's a small contingent coming from the Australian Labor Party and a very tiny contingent coming from the Greens, but the vast majority of the people that are moving to One Nation are people who are formerly Liberal or National Party supporters. So it really does support the theory that we've been talking about for like several weeks on this podcast, like without polling data, just on vibes, that like, yeah, people are seeing that the two-party system is not delivering for them, especially older rural cohorts. Their quality of life is really suffering. Their economic situation is, cost of living is really biting. And the Liberal parties, the coalition's falling apart. And so a lot of these voters are just thinking, well, I can't vote for Labor, so I'll vote for One Nation instead. And that seems to be bearing out in the stats. Well, again, not voting for, but saying they will vote for them at the next election. We're still a couple of years out, right?
Yeah, so. The people on the more conservative side of things in those areas are like, yeah, well, if sort of the conservative middle ground is no longer there, they won't go for commie conservative. Let's go for extremo conservative.
Yeah, the only thing worse than a right-wing fascist is the Labor Party to these people's minds. The lowest estimate is that 1 in 5 people who voted for the coalition in 2025 now say they intend to vote for One Nation. But according to some of these polls that are summarized in this article, that figure could even be as high as 1 in 3. So we're talking about a substantial number of people. Yeah.
Yeah. And seeing in that original graph, the Greens just flatline.
Yeah, just nothing happening on the Greens.
Great job, team.
Yeah.
Gain no traction.
I'd love to understand the mental gymnastics of voting Greens at the last election and then being like, yeah, next time, feeling a bit of a One Nation vibe, but anyway.
Yeah, that's horseshoe theory in action.
Outside the scope of this investigation, but I
just really like the extremes.
Yeah, you know what? I tried extreme left last time. Got to go extreme right.
I've got to be the complete opposite side of the bell curve. Either end of the bell.
It's the only true way to be a centrist. You just keep flip-flopping between the extremist parties, one election after the other.
I think it was a couple of percent that have done that. Wasn't very much, but still.
So according to George Hasakanos, that's a great guy if ever I heard one, said the sweet spot for the surge is when you put together age, location, and non-university educated background. It's a primarily older age, primarily people who don't have a university degree, and is led by people in regional and rural Australia. So yeah, it's exactly who you think it is. It's the exact kind of like Trumpy coalition that they put together for MAGA, right? Like that really is the same kind of people. Yeah. Older, disaffected, conservative people. It's none of it's a surprise. And capitalizing on race and immigration and white nationalism as a way of sidestepping into people's reasonable concerns that they have about housing availability and affordability and cost of living. We've got a really easy explanation for all of this, and it's dem immigrants, right? And that's how you get them, and that's the pipeline to white supremacy. That's how it happens.
Yeah, and it's a very similar, as you mentioned, a thing that's happened in the US and the UK for that matter. But like what you see, if you look at election mapping in the United States, the cities are generally blue, and then it's the rural areas that are red, right?
Or red and blue in our instance. We've got the colours reversed, but yes.
Yeah, yes, correct. So in this case here, this is the thing, is that polling this far out from an electionist, and the fact that polling generally is done by people phoning you up and you have to pick up the phone and you have to answer.
Not so much in Australia. There are there's a much broader tool set available nowadays for polling. And so reaching people via the internet or Facebook or other kinds of online polling and things like that. But
my point being is the people that you have to want to respond to the poll.
Sure.
is the condition here, right?
and who's gonna have time to respond to polls? Mum, sitting on her phone, scrolling her life away, and then is absolutely happy to have a conversation with anyone who'll speak to her because her kids don't anymore. And suddenly a pollster calls up and starts asking questions about the Browns, which she already doesn't like, and she's happy to talk to him. Whereas, like, if someone called me, I'd be like, "Bro, I'm busy. Like, I'm putting my kid to sleep. Go away."
So yeah,
really? I'd be like, unknown number.
Yeah,
You'll leave a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, a call to a Gen Z is basically an act of war. That is emotional violence. That's being an unexpected call. What is happening? Who is
Decline. So yeah, a few things here. Yes, immigration is the hot topic at the moment, but it probably shouldn't be. In some ways, it's just been a common through line since prior to the last election. Interestingly, since the leadership spill, you've had a lot of conservative figures, including one, Tony Abbott, come out and just basically go real hard, basically saying that multiculturalism is dead, which, I mean, well, basically that we need to basically have an ethno-state of, like, Catholic.
Yeah, great. That always works out super good.
Anyway,
when
I've paraphrased his wording
leaders
there.
Want a white ethno-state. That always works out super well.
I've paraphrased his wording, but basically it was like we need to basically unify behind a single culture, is what he was saying.
Angus Taylor said something like, like our standards have been too low for letting people into the country in one of his speeches this week. It's like basically saying, like, we're not letting in the best, which is like crazy because Australia has such a conservative immigration system.
Fucking visa. You have no idea.
Australia has such a conservative immigration system that the Trump administration said, that looks like a good idea. We should do what Australia is doing.
Let's copy it.
Like skilled, preferencing skilled migration and all these sorts of factors. Like, it is hard to get into Australia. And the idea that, it's just some like open borders nonsense. It's not only untrue, but it's also just unhelpful rhetoric to blame that on the cost of housing, the cost of living, like all that sort of stuff. Like, it's
and
just
we've talked about that.
Doesn't reflect reality, right?
That doesn't reflect reality. But I think, importantly, like, here's the thing. If you ask someone what are One Nation's policies, they'll be able to tell you, it's about hardening up on immigration. And you go, okay, what's the next policy? And they won't be able to tell you.
Cost of living, bloody cost of living, bloody,
No, they haven't got any other policies. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
you don't need policies when you're a grievance-based organism like Pauline Hanson. You don't need policies. You just need rhetoric and disgust,
I think the Australian people are actually slightly smarter than we give them credit for.
I love your optimism here.
They can see what's happening in the Liberal Party. Everyone can see it. And the one thing Australians don't like more than, I don't know, immigrants or whatever it may be, is self-interested wankers, tall poppies.
Yeah.
And they can see that happening in the Liberal Party, and it turns off a lot of people. People that would have voted for John Howard are going, I can't vote for these guys.
Yeah, but then why is the response, okay, I'll vote for the we're being swamped by Muslims
because
lady,
it's a protest vote. Because it's what's the most viable alternative? Oh, I know, One Nation. They've been around for 29 years. Okay, and they've got, a presence in regional areas. Now, closer you get to an election, you're going to find out a couple of things. One Nation haven't got any other policies and nothing that actually makes sense.
Well, they do, but they just don't make any sense. Like, if you think about them for 1 minute, you go, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
their ability to sell them isn't necessarily great either.
Excuse me, Adam, that squat toilets ad on the side of a road near a beach somewhere was art.
Lives rent-free in my head forever. I think about it now.
The third thing, which I think is actually really important that everyone's discounting, is that to be able to capitalise on the polling that they currently have, they'd have to continue this momentum for 2 years, and they would need to run candidates in a huge number of seats. In the lower house. Keep in mind, One Nation have never won a lower house seat in their own right. And One Nation have proven themselves, time and time again, to be an administrative basket case.
Yes, this is
They
true.
are run by James Ashby, who is an idiot, and they cannot get
James,
themselves...
get on the sauce, Ashby.
Yeah.
They cannot find candidates fucking, like, I don't know, what's an analogy? Like they could be raining from the sky and they would not be able to find suitable candidates.
Well, they can find them. They just happen to be guys who mow SWAT stickers into their lawns.
I was going to say, Adam,
Oopsie.
You said suitable the second time. That's why I was
Suitable.
like, yeah. Go. They can find a candidate like fucking behind the couch. They will
if you
find
just need
one.
bodies, we got bodies.
One Nation's track record are that basically every time someone runs for them, they either get found out before the election and get disendorsed, or they get in, realise Pauline Hanson's One Nation is in fact just about Pauline Hanson.
Yeah.
And, I can't actually work with her, and they just end up becoming an independent. The only person who's done the opposite of that, there's Barnaby Joyce and there's Malcolm Roberts, the only people that have gone back the other way. Most people leave One Nation because they can't fucking stand her.
Malcolm the Living Soul Roberts, yes.
This concept that like, they're polling and that somehow they're going to be this force majeure in Australian politics. I am but give it a year. Give it a year.
I hear what you're saying.
Sure.
There's room for doubt. I am also aware that other far right-wing fascistic parties, like what you're saying right now, is quite literally what the Germans said about Hitler before Hitler rose to power. He's a right-winger, he's an extremist, Germans are smarter than that, they're not going to buy this rhetoric. Literally every argument you've made there was made publicly in the German papers until Hitler became chancellor.
Without sounding like a Nazi, Hitler wasn't necessarily as dumb as Pauline Hanson is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Like Hitler was a lot of things. Not an idiot. Like, yeah.
And
Hitler shouldn't have started a war with both the Western Europe as well as
Trump,
the USSR.
Trump
but
is an idiot. But the difference between his first term and his second term is that he's surrounded by people that know what they're doing, and then they've had a plan. Pauline Hanson's One Nation do not have a plan. She is not surrounded by smart people.
Yeah.
And they don't have the funding, is the other thing as well.
Well, yeah, so this is what I was going to say. It's like, yes, we're seeing the polling, as you say, 2 years out from election. I am aware that in the 6 months leading up to an election, the money cannons turn on. And as far as everyone knows, the Liberal Party and the Labor Party will be the two parties that are best positioned to fire the money cannon at the media apparatus in order to help manufacture consent, right? So I fully expect those numbers to come down.
Protest voting now will probably swing back the other way, I imagine.
They call it coming home.
Yeah.
A lot of times, as you get closer to an election, people will come home to that. You see sort of wilder polling in advance of elections. And then as you get closer to the actual day, people go, okay, but like, who am I actually going to vote for? Fine, I'll pull the, like, even though I have a high level of disgust for this person, or I might vote preference one nation, my preference two is going to be the Liberal Party, as it always is, sort of thing, so.
Yeah. I know on the money cannon, hasn't there been a lot of, I thought like over the past couple of years and stuff like that, people have just seen Pauline just hanging out with Gina Reinhardt.
Yeah, no, they're
like
definitely mates.
Courting maybe that funding. The money cannon might just decide to go in another direction.
Yes, but we don't have the same kind of setup that they have in the US with super PACs and all that sort of stuff, where billionaires can just pour infinite money into unaccountable containers for the purposes of background electioneering. That can't really happen to the same extent here in Australia, right? So
I thought it kind of can. We just don't, like, I don't know, they only released maybe recently-ish sort of where all the money that went into our last election was coming from. Like the actual declarations of where a lot of the donations come from don't have to be made at the time, just after the fact. So you can kind of do it at the time, like throw shitloads of money at them and you just won't get found out for a year.
But remember, Labor updated the laws recently, I want to say 6 months ago, in terms of, theoretical maximums for people to donate and what like all that sort of stuff, which as we said at the time, benefits the two major parties. I'm not discounting One Nation as a contender, but as you say, Adam, they haven't had the political machinery behind them in the past to capitalize on the public discontent that they that shows up in polls, right? So as to whether they suddenly start to grow that muscle now, I don't know. Maybe you do have senior members of the Nationals like Barnaby Joyce and people like that joining, like actual grown-ups who are plugged into
Is
actual...
Barnaby Joyce a grown-up?
He's grown up enough to be drunk on a falling off a park bench at 3 o'clock in the morning.
You'd say he's an experienced political operator.
That's the point I'm making. So he, once you start to get real political operators with establishment, political networks, real like staffers who will come along with those people who are experienced and know what they're doing. But then I think, as with reform in the UK, One Nation is then going to be in the position of having to defend the integration of establishment figures against whom people are protest voting, right? So it's like, we've got all this establishment, all the machinery from the Liberal Party, and it's like, great, so aren't you just the Liberal Party now? Like, isn't that what we were just voting against, was the anti-establishment kind of vibe that you guys were promising? So I think it puts them in a tough position, but I would not be surprised if they pick up a couple of seats in the Senate.
Sure.
And maybe they're the balance of power. That is also still a very dangerous position, to my mind, for One Nation to be in, because now if they can potentially block supply to the government on a bunch of key issues,
without being appeased,
without necessarily having to be the majority, if every piece of legislation that you put through has to go through One Nation's lens before it gets refracted out the other side, then that's going to cause real problems, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So moving on, we've been speaking for 30 minutes about it, but we now need to move on. So,
you said you wanted less Trump stuff, so we front-loaded all the Australian stuff.
I did, but we still have more Australian stuff to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, we haven't even gotten to the super Trumpy stuff that happened here in Australia.
Yeah, so we mentioned that the Israeli president was in town.
Was he?
And yeah,
several towns.
Didn't hear anything about it.
Well, Mr. Worldwide, we did. People didn't like it.
No,
people were not happy that he was here. And
can't imagine why.
Ish protests in Melbourne and Sydney. The one in Sydney, in particular, was a bit gnarly in the end.
Popped off.
Yeah, Sydney is a difficult case for this, because as we talked about in the wake of the shooting in Bondi Beach in December, one of the sort of quick reactions to that was the New South Wales Parliament passing a new law where in the wake of an act declared a terrorist act, the police can designate for 2-week blocks up to a total of 3 months total. They just have to renew it every 2 weeks. They can block people like being allowed public gatherings, but really essentially what they're clamping down on is that they didn't want big like protests and things like that, or like just large events, like they'd put it under the guise of like people shouldn't be demonstrating either for or against anything, or to have like maybe targets or things like that, but it's under the guise of public safety, right? Yeah.
And so this idea that they're like, no, trust us. We're the government. We're not going to abuse our authority and just declare states of emergency when there's no need to. And it's like the Israeli president comes, they're like, actually, you know what? This counts. Well, let's immediately abuse our authority.
Yeah. So like pretty much from the get-go, people were saying, so this is the let's ban protesting in support of Palestine law, and they're like, no, but it is, but
when's Isaac coming? Because that's when we're going to do it.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we had 2 weeks, all right, great, and then they extended it even further, and it crossed over to January 26. So for when there's a lot of Invasion Day rallies around Australia, but they have that little niche carved out where there's a place in Sydney called Hyde Park, and big open area. A lot of protests often maybe start there as like a good like meeting place and things like that. So Hyde Park has never been one of the designated areas that you're not allowed to have the public gatherings or protests. So the Invasion Day protest began in Hyde Park and went like down some streets that kind of like cut around the area where it wasn't allowed. It's mainly like the Bondi area, like Rose Bay, a bit up the top, and sort of a bit into the city. But they did widen that space with the most recent renewal of the no protest law. Still Hyde Park's fine, but it spread into the city. It went pretty much through to Darling Harbour. So flash forward to that period containing the time that President Herzog of Israel was going to be in Sydney on this past Monday. And the Palestine Action Group, like a Palestinian advocacy group, organised a big protest at Sydney Town Hall. And Town Hall is smack bang on George Street here in the Sydney CBD. It is in the no protest zone. And police were saying, hey, you can have it in Hyde Park. And they're like, fuck you. We're doing it at Town Hall. You can't outlaw free speech, you motherfuckers, essentially.
It's an argument I'm sympathetic to, I'll be perfectly honest.
Yes, they kind of be like, no, we're going to gather there. And like, what are you going to do about it? Well,
was this very far from where those Nazis were allowed to peacefully assemble? Assemble recently?
Well, kind of, because the plan was they had like speeches, and then we'll get to the speeches in a sec, but like, everyone gathers out the front of Town Hall, the people do their speeches, their calls to action, all that sort of stuff, and then they wanted to march to New South Wales Parliament, and that's where the Nazis gathered to do their abolish the Jewish lobby or whatever.
Unmolested, as I recall.
Well, I believe just escorted from the premises.
Don't worry, they've disbanded. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
don't
nothing
worry
to worry
about
about.
it. Stop thinking about it. You're thinking about it? Don't think about it.
Yeah. So, and also what was happening on Monday night here in Sydney was like a big memorial for the victims in the Bondi shooting for the the people attending the Jewish festival and things like that President Herzog was speaking at in Darling Harbour, I believe in the TikTok Entertainment Centre, if I'm not mistaken, which is a real place.
Yes, the sponsor is TikTok.
Yes, kind of like Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. Like, I went to a gig there. I was like, I'll be at the ICC, and there's like the TikTok Entertainment Centre on the tickets. Well, what the fuck? Anyway, so yeah, he was speaking at that. The messaging from the New South Wales Parliament and from the police and all that sort of stuff was that their main goal was to keep these groups separate. No, the Palestinian protesters, we don't want them to be going anywhere near the mourners and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, that's fair enough to a certain extent, right?
Fair enough in the set, yeah, but it's also like the protesters aren't there to protest a memorial for people who died in a terror attack. They're protesting the fact that we invited
a guy
credibly accused war criminal.
Yeah, a guy who's been founded to have advocated for genocide according to the UN. Like, the man is not some innocent,
he's not wanted
bystander.
He hasn't.
That's the threshold, Adam. He needs to have a warrant out for his arrest in order for people to be mad.
Unlike Benjamin Netanyahu, who was the Prime Minister of Israel, who has an actual
arrest warrant issued.
A court of justice.
He has advocated the genocidal Palestinian.
Which is why he came, and Benjamin Netanyahu did not come.
Yes, Adam is technically correct, the best kind of correct. But so then we haven't even gotten to the juicy part. So yeah, that everyone was there at the front of Town Hall. It was already like pretty restricted in that, like, police were stopping like more people gathering. Like, there were people who were trying to join the protest but could not get through a police line. Like, police everywhere, the speeches were happening, and then eventually it just popped off. And there's some footage, I'm sure everyone listening to this who's in Australia has seen this footage going around of just people being beaten mercilessly at the hands of police officers.
Yeah, so I've got two clips to play here, one after the other. So again, I'm going to be sharing audio, so I will ask that you guys don't talk while I'm sharing, just to make sure we don't have any issues like we did last time with that echo, which is very annoying. So this first clip shows a man being arrested by two officers on a set of light rail tracks outside Sydney Town Hall, and he's down on the ground being arrested by these officers. One is on his back, one is sort of on top of him at his side, and he is hit 18 times by the police. 18, 1-8. So it's slightly blurred because it is a bit distressing, but I just want people to get a sense of what's going on here. So we could see he's down. Police has got his arm behind his back. Policeman claims that he tried to bite his hand. And we could see bang, 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 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You know, the man is clearly down on the ground. A police officer is sitting on top of his back. He's got one arm pinned behind his back. And, you know, it seems as though he was not in a position to be really resisting in any way. There's another clip here which also emerged. There was another clip which went viral, which is pictured in this article. I'll post these articles in the show notes, which sort of break it down a little bit. The man in the white shirt, where this ABC News article actually does a pretty good job of breaking it down, where they sort of reached out. You know, this bicycle cop reaches out, grabs the guy by the shirt. He's got his hands up. The officer then trips forward on the bicycle that he's got in front of him. And then another officer comes in and starts just wailing on the guy, I guess thinking maybe he was attacking the police officer, but the police officer was the one who initiated the contact, grabbed him, and then is falling over, still holding him, pulling him down. He's trying to get himself off. He's literally got his hands up, and then, gets punched by other officers like several times. Quite a violent incident. And then there's this one here. So there's audio on this one. We'll play this, which is a group of Muslims praying in near Sydney's town hall on Monday evening, and police essentially come in and start, I don't know how to describe this except to say start assaulting them. It's not just moving them on, they're physically pulling people up off the ground and sort of arresting them and pulling them aside and being quite violent with them. Again, this is obviously pretty distressing to watch, so if that's not something you want to do, now's your chance to get out.
Fairly distressing.
It's just fucking harrowing shit. Like, they just threw those men around. Like,
I don't know what you could, what is more peaceful protest than literally kneeling and praying, and these men were doing nothing, and they're just getting yanked up and dragged off, by the police.
So the police
being assaulted. Police
aggressively
shoving people onto their backs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't.
The police
see
have said
any
that
reasonable use.
The
of
reason
force
was that they
happening
were
here.
asked to leave, and they decided that the praying was somehow a way of the order to.
Yeah. So,
Which-
so the argument there is, we asked them to move on, they didn't move on, and so therefore it was necessary to use state violence against them. Is that there? Okay.
That's what the police. That's the logic of the police force.
Yeah, great.
That is the logic of the police force in a nutshell. Yes.
And now
Yeah.
it's interesting because Chris Minns and the government have come out very aggressively.
Tone
and said,
deaf.
No. We actually were completely restrained, and it was actually things went really well. We're really happy.
Fantastic
with how things
job. We were all like
Yeah.
high fives all around. We had
Just so
beers
good.
after.
Can't wait to go into work tomorrow. I'm just going to be getting high fives and donuts. And he said, we didn't kettle the protesters. We didn't incite any violence. They did all this themselves.
Absolutely kettled.
They absolutely kettled them.
Yes.
For
You
those who
couldn't-
don't know,
Couldn't get
kettling
out.
is when the police create a line, and they do it like on a bridge or at an intersection or somewhere where protesters can't get out, and they basically squeeze them. They advance from both sides, and they say, we didn't kettle the and essentially it's a way of creating a situation that is unstable and unsafe to allow it to turn violent in order to then violently crack down on the protesters.
yeah.
Like it literally comes out of fucking Andor, right?
Yeah.
Like this
you give them move on notices, and you've prevented them to be able to move on anywhere else.
Yeah,
Like,
and there's videos from the scene on the
of
day
people
of people
trying
being
to
like,
leave.
how do I leave?
Yeah.
And the cops
guy's
are like,
oh yeah, no, you're right, mate. Just go down that way. You'll be right. And then the video follows, goes down, and there's a line of police officers, and he goes,
Yeah.
so how do I get out? And the guy goes, oh yeah, just go back the other way. You'll be right, mate. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. And they can't get out. So they've forced a confrontation. They have prevented people from, dispersing peacefully, and then they have used state violence to crack down on them and abuse these people in a way that I do not believe is commensurate with their authority, even with these greatly expanded bullshit powers that they've just given themselves, right?
There are some investigations and potential lawsuits. Potentially,
I can't wait for the outcome.
works.
I hope it's being conducted by New South Wales Police.
I was going to say,
New South
who's
Wales
doing the
Police
investigating?
conducts investigation, finds New South Wales Police fucking rock.
Yeah, like who's doing the investigating? And like there's the response from Chris Minns, I found, was just
Very tone
like
deaf.
incredibly galling, that he was just like, no, this was all fine. Like the protesters were
Could have been so much worse. Like we
aggressive.
saved lives.
Like yeah, and and we were keeping this this angry, dangerous mob separate from the mourners. Like Town Hall and Darling Harbour are blocks apart. It's not like they were fucking outside and you were like manning the walls of Helm's Deep. Like just fucking
Legolas!
like just keeping them and like there's not even like video footage of all of it. Like you saw the ABC interviewed people, like a woman who broke her back because like cops shoved her over. I think a Greens MP like was in a neck brace essentially from just the kinds of clashes she had with cops. Like it looked like as hyperbolic as it sounds, it looked like all the shit we've been seeing out of Minnesota.
Oh, I literally posted saying what in the Minnesota is going on right here. Like that's what it looked like.
This
That's
is one of
the
those
same
things
sort of
of
scenes.
like, hey, we're seeing that. Like, no, it's not the same situation, but we are seeing just, hey, people protesting the actions of the government getting the shit kicked through them by authorities.
Keep in mind, 300,000 people walked across the Sydney Harbour Bridge for a very similar cause, and
Totally
it was fine.
peaceably.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Police even turned them back across the bridge in an arguably unsafe manner at that time as well.
Yeah.
So didn't turn into violence, thankfully.
And that was before these expanded powers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's
And I
almost
haven't
like
heard
they put these
Albo-
powers through, just
to look
sort
like
of-
they're doing something.
And then they were like, well, hang on, if we can't make these laws stick, we look like idiots, so we have to make them stick. And either that or just, and we've talked about this before, that there are portions of, not all police, but there are portions of police forces across the world, which have a natural predisposition to thuggery.
They're just itching to bash some hippies.
To use their ability to use force is probably the way we'd put it.
I think it's fair to say that if you embark on a career in law enforcement, you are happier than most to engage in deploying state violence against protesters.
Yeah.
Like you are more likely conservative.
Yeah.
That whole disposition of law and order is inherently conservative. So if you sign up to be police, I don't think it's any wonder that we see these when police are given expanded authority to use those powers, to use state violence against people against whom they think are, perceived threats to the established order. And they are more than happy to deploy that force overwhelmingly.
I don't want to, New South Wales Police have been through a bit. Like, I don't want to, a bunch of their colleagues died. And I completely understand that there would be a large portion of that police force that would be on edge. I know that, when the stabbing happened in the shopping mall, that, a police officer stepped up and saved a lot of lives. Police obviously helped save lives, at the Bondi attack. So to say that,
I'm not saying all police are bad, but
correct.
But there is a disposition.
I want to highlight that here. That we're talking about a trend. We're not talking about.
There is a disposition within the police towards that kind of conservative, pro-conservative aggression against protesters.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's a phenomenon sort of worldwide.
That's worldwide. That's everywhere. But that doesn't excuse the fact that, because the government has put them on this looser leash, that it has direct explanatory power that the New South Wales Police have the New South Wales government have let the New South Wales police off the leash, and the moment they do, we see these scenes of violence. That is not a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And the thing that I think I found particularly, one of many things galling sort of out of this, I mean, I haven't like searched extensively, but I would have thought something like this would have been pretty prominent. Aside from a like, fairly milquetoast, hey, people are mourning, people are mourning the Bondi attack, like, I don't want to get into this in question time. I haven't heard dick from Albo. And fucking Albo was the one who invited Herzog. And he invited Herzog for, quote-unquote, social cohesion, but really as a PR stunt to be looking like he's further combating anti-Semitism by bringing, like, someone who he believed would be comforting to Jewish communities following, like, them being attacked in Bondi, right? I have not heard him talk about this when it's like, hey, they were protesting your invite. You got nothing to say that, like, people expressing their opinion against your actions got the shit kicked through them by the police?
Sorry, Tom. The coalition was busy this week. And weren't able to. I mean, you have like
Labor,
Cash.
Albo. I want to hear from.
Albo went to ground.
My point being, there was no one.
Politics is rending itself in twain. I don't need to say
There was no one
anything.
to hold them to account.
Yeah.
There was the only thing that did come out was talk around Grace Tame. So
yes,
Grace Tame
was one
of the speakers at the event, and she said some things that were a bit inflammatory. Some of the coalition responded to, and that was the only thing they could cognitively get their head around. So what she made a speech against the genocide in Gaza, and at the end of her speech, she said a couple of things, but the phrase that really caught everyone was globalize the Intifada.
Yeah, I've got the clip here. I'll just quickly play it for you guys.
Grace Tame is a former Australian, well, because she is an Australian.
She was awarded Australian of the Year a couple of years ago.
And bastion of proper behaviour. Barnaby Joyce actually was the first person to criticise her and say that her Australian of the Year award should be stripped from her as a result. The quote was...
Cash was very upset.
So I hadn't heard the term until recently, sort of globalize the Intifada. I remember hearing it at the Invasion Day protests as well, and when I heard it then, I didn't know what it meant. And since like this, Grace Tame being called for her to lose her Australian of the Year sort of over it, I've read several op-eds and all that sort of stuff that have gone into definitions and things like that. But my understanding is I thought Intifada, the word itself, is Arabic, I want to say, and kind of means shaking off. And it's
shaking off of oppression, yeah.
Yeah. So the phrase is being used to globalize the shaking off of oppression, but it's been used historically to sort of around Palestinian resistance to Israel. Sometimes violent, sometimes not.
Including bombings and things like that. You talk about the first and second intifadas, they were periods in Palestinian history where violence was occurring, where people were bombed, suicide bombers, things like that. Right?
And wider than that, it's also been used in the Iraqi revolution and stuff, where overthrowing to rise up and overthrow you.
It is a term that has violent political connotations, right? I think it was. I normally love Grace Tame. I thought this was a real misstep on her, but I know it's three white guys telling Grace Tame, abuse survivor, what to say and do. But I just think it was unwise because it's it just validates all of the far right conservative, all the pandering that our government has done to Israel in enacting all of these laws now seems justified because they she said it. Yeah. She said the thing, and now we're justified
because New South Wales were already
considering banning the phrase.
Yeah, correct. It was actually in one of the recommendations, one of the reports that came out. So
Queensland has actually passed legislation in recent weeks making it a crime to say that phrase, right?
Is it that phrase, or was it the other one, the river to the sea?
No, from the river to the sea.
So, I think they were looking at both. I think they ended up going with no, you're right.
Both.
So
Is it both?
the Attorney General for Queensland, Deb Frecklington, confirmed Globalize the Intifada and From the River to Sea would be included as prescribed phrases. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, From the River to the Sea, I think, has a different connotation, which talks more about Palestinian freedom,
statehood, borders. Yeah.
It's like we want to be treated as equal citizens in our country, and that's how Palestinian activists have described that phrase. That is not a call to violence, to my mind. Although, if you ask a Jewish, or Israeli activist, they might feel differently. But, they would say it's about abolishing the state of Israel. But I would say that the phrase globalize the Intifada, I don't think any phrases should be legal, first of all. Let me establish that. But I think globalize the Intifada definitely has connotations of political violence, which I don't think is acceptable. I don't think it should be illegal for her to say that, but I do think it was very unwise for her to be chanting that at this particular juncture and leading a group in chanting that, right?
Yeah, I don't know, because I guess...
But this is the danger when you start talking about banning speech. The idea that you could go to jail for 2 years for uttering a phrase. So if I'm in my house alone with the doors closed and I say, globalize the Intifada, like the cop's going to burst in and go, get down on the ground. He's committed a crime. Like that's some thought crime level shit.
It's like a game of Siege. Everyone bursts in.
Yeah, everyone bursts in at the same time.
Flashbangs everywhere.
Yeah, like that. I have a real problem with governments prescribing the particular utterances, particular sounds that one makes with one's mouth as crimes. Yeah. And I think everyone should be really concerned about that. The fact that Queensland did it.
Yeah.
The fact that New South Wales is considering it, I think this is all evidence to me that in the wake of the Bondi attack, everyone is just rushing so hard to look busy. And they're passing dog shit legislation, which is going to haunt us for years to come.
Yeah.
And this is bad. This is not good legislation.
Because they're, like, from a legislative perspective, from a policing perspective, from then, like, a media narrative perspective, they are conflating criticism of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism. Like, and, that's been the playbook of the Israeli government for decades.
Which is
it's playing straight into that.
To conflate those two things, I think, is very anti-Semitic because it plays into that dual loyalty, trope. The idea that Jewishness and the actions of the state of Israel are the same thing.
Are the same, yeah.
Is wrong.
Those actions being like the text of God.
It's incorrect.
Yeah.
And it makes people. It fuels that idea that racists have, that anti-Semites have, that Jews are really only responsible to their home nation and not to the country in which they reside. Like that is an old racist anti-Semitic trope that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And that just feeds that.
I mean, yeah, and the other thing is I don't think Grace, having her Australian of the Year award somehow pulled away from her, like as if that's,
that's going to do anything. Yeah, it's so funny to be lectured on.
She strikes me as someone who'd be like, fine, take it.
Okay, so whatever.
Come on,
but it's so funny.
Come at me, bro.
So funny to get lectured on appropriate behavior by Barnaby fucking Joyce.
Yes, yeah. Like,
which numbered wife are we on, Barnaby? Was that before or after you passed out on the ground in Braddon? Like, are you serious, bro? When you're deputy prime minister, you got to conduct yourself with a certain amount of grace and elan. Now watch me take this drive. Like, let me scar a fucking footlog.
Yeah, were I Grace Tame, I would have laughed hysterically into my morning coffee reading that in the
She
in
did
the
have
paper.
a public response or something around someone equated her to hanging out with violent leftists, and she was like, yes, my I can't remember the exact, it was actually pretty funny, the exact quote, but the paraphrasing it was like, oh yes, me hanging out with my my Wiccan buddies and hippies, drinking green tea, we're going to overthrow the government.
We're Australia's number one enemy, apparently.
The irony is, though, like, as absurd as that sounds, there are people who think that is the case. you know, that
Wow.
the leftists with purple hair, you know, doing wicked little witchy, you know, sort of
Yeah.
people in their 20s are going to be the ones that start
Yeah.
the revolution. Like, it's so ridiculous on its face.
So
Meanwhile,
yeah,
we've got One Nation over here saying, bring back the white Australia policy,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, I don't know, seems like she's got some good ideas.
I've got a lot of respect for Grace Tame. So, I mean, yeah, I
So do
agree.
I.
I agree. Don't, probably not a helpful phrase given the current political climate. Don't go around saying that. But, you know, like, she's there to push the envelope. That's
it
kind
should
of
be
her
legal for her
job.
to say it. If that's
Yeah.
what she wants to say, it should not be illegal for her to say it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, was I the only one who took the, like, freedom of speech thing to heart? Or was like, well, you may not, you know, I will not agree with what you say, but gosh darn it, I'll defend to death your right to say it. Like,
And smash bang cut to 18C like a decade ago, and we were like,
George Brandis says, people have the right to be bigots, you know.
we were like, oh, George, you're so out of touch. I'm like,
I mean, in a way, people do have the right to be bigots. He wasn't wrong, but it was just a weird thing to say.
It was just shitty the way he said it.
Yeah. But, I mean, to play devil's avocado, what about Nazi slogans?
It's a good point, Tom.
I think, but like, no
I'd
one
totally
ever says,
get behind outlawing Nazi slogans. You
But
know
hang
me,
on.
I have my thing of like, oh no, I'm
I
all
know.
for freedoms and things, but there's a line, and Nazi, I don't know where the line is, but Nazis are on the other side of it.
But no one is actually a freedom of speech absolutist. What everyone talks about with freedom
Yeah.
of speech is, the speech I don't like should be illegal, right? But like, I think it's a well-established Australian legal principle. I say this with no legal training, but as I understand it,
But you're a
That's-
man, you'll say it confidently.
your ability to, yeah, there we go. Here's a whitish looking male is saying things confidently into an expensive looking microphone on the internet. He must know exactly what the fuck he's
Mhm.
talking about. I think there's like it's like a phrase. It's like, your ability to swing your fist ends at someone else's nose, right? There's this idea that's baked into Australian jurisprudence that, like, saying things not generally, you know, a problem unless it infringes on someone else's ability to be safe or feel safe, right? You can say things, but if you're hitting people, if you're threatening people, if you're acting violently towards people with words, that's not acceptable. That's assault. There's always boundaries of freedom of speech. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, is the American example. There are things that you cannot say because they endanger other people, because they lead to violence, or they encourage violence or criminality. Those things are limited, right, by anyone's definition of freedom of speech. I don't think that, unless you are explicitly calling for violence, like if you're a Nazi and you're Zig Heiling and you're saying gas the Jews, that is a call to violence, right? There are things that should not be allowed to be said in public forums because they endanger other people. I don't think that principle is what is at play here. They're just saying you need to ban that phrase because we don't like it. And I think that's different. That is a different level of that is a different threshold, right? Which is being, I think this really blows apart a lot of what makes Australia a great multicultural place to live in, is that we don't prioritize particular groups over other groups. I think it's really problematic when one group gets a special set of protections and other groups don't because of who they are and what they believe.
Yeah, well, I mean,
right?
idealistically, we don't do that. I mean, we definitely do that in our actions.
Sure.
Like, in our legislation, in our
shouldn't,
actions.
is my
like,
point.
Yes. I mean, saying like where Australia is such a great place for us to like not be trying to like put one group above another. I think you speak to any Aboriginal person, I think they'll have a different perspective. But I get your point. Yeah, idealistically, that's where we're that's where we're sort of at, and it's just that it's. Like, they're just banning a thing, saying that like we don't banning this expression because we don't like it, and the reason we don't like it is because it criticizes an ally that we're really putting ourselves behind. That's what this past week's kind of shown me. That previously, I think like Albanese and Penny Wong and all sort of in their support of Israel, especially since the October 7 attack and the war kicked off. Has always been sort of obfuscated through not not going to bat for them, but not going to bat for them. Like, you can't, like, just sort of kind of staying out of it, but still being friendly. But now this past week...
we're still going to send them F-16 parts for their bomber doors and whatnot.
But this past week has felt really like, no, like, we invited the president over here, and we're cracking down on his dissenters.
They're going all in.
Yeah. We are we are legislating
Yeah.
state violence against people who criticize this other country. Like, we're going 100% behind the IDF. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. We do need to move on, though. Elsewhere in the country, in Victoria, our lovely state of Victoria.
Big Aussie episode.
There's been a report that has dropped this week from the barrister Jeffrey Watson, who's looking at CFMEU corruption. So, big story last year, the CFMEU was put into administration because of basically blatant corruption with bikies.
It's a big construction union.
Construction union.
Who aren't aware.
The report that's been released alleges that up to 15 billion with a B of taxpayer funds have been lost to this corruption through various, things with the big build, which is basically Victoria's major infrastructure projects, and that, critically, the government knew about a lot of this and did nothing, which is a pretty big swing to throw out there. The report has been referred to Victoria Police, the AFP, various other internal agencies and investigatory bodies.
The amount of furious Liberal Party email servers, the email servers were heating up this week.
The Herald Sun has been going nuts.
Yeah, I was going to say, has anyone checked in on the editor-in-chief of the Herald Sun? Like, are they okay? Are they catatonic?
Yeah.
Like, are they just catatonic with bliss? Yeah.
I walked into a cafe on yesterday, Saturday, and there was like Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday's paper.
I love that your contact with the Murdoch media is entirely cafe-based.
But it's like, how else? I'm not going to pay for the Herald Sun.
No.
How else am I going to see it?
No one does.
No one does. Everyone picks it up at your local cafe. There's only one copy in circulation.
And yeah, it was like the same story each day throughout the week. Anyway.
And, like, we should care about this, but with everything else going on and the complete lack of a functional opposition party in the Victorian Parliament in the coalition, they've been useless for even more election cycles than the federal Liberal Party. So
decades by this point.
Like, we will not be... this is a huge scandal. In any other context, we should be talking about this for weeks and months.
And it would be the end of the Labor government.
It'd be like people would have to step down, people would resign in disgrace. There'd be like an ABC miniseries about it in like 8 years. Like, it'd be like a huge deal. We will not be talking about this next week. I will bet Kalshi money that I'll put this in the prediction markets. This will not be a fucking story next week. It'll be like Trump bombed Guatemala or something. Like, it'll be just some crazy new shit. Like, here's a video of Trump like hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein again. Like, it's just going to be.
I think
off
it depends. For you, it'll be off the news, but I think for a lot of voters, it will actually stay in their algorithms.
For anyone reading the Herald Sun, I guess.
Yeah, furiously masturbating to the Herald Sun.
The other implication that's been made recently, to which point, Tim Wilson even got involved, was that they tried to issue a redacted version, which was missing parts of the report.
A little tidied up version that makes the Labor government look a little bit better here in Victoria. Yeah,
allegedly because some of the the allegations were there wasn't enough evidence in the report, but they've released the full version now to these authorities. So I reckon there will be more to hear on this, despite your protestations, George. I reckon there will be follow-ups from this, and there'll be probably some charges laid because people would have had to have known about this.
Your worst uncle will hear a lot about it on Sky News and mention it at Christmas. And that's the next time you're going to hear about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a new opposition leader, Jess Wilson. She's a female, obviously. But I think she's got probably a little bit more cut through than Blandy McBland, white guy who's, I don't even remember.
I'm sorry.
The previous.
There's a new Vic Liberal. There's a new Vic Liberal leader.
Yeah, Jess Wilson. Yeah, she's the new Vic.
Did we talk about this on the show, or have I?
Yeah, we did. We did.
It was John Pizzuto.
Yeah, John Pizzuto, who was after Matthew Guy and then Matthew Guy again.
No, John Pizzuto was the last guy. John Pizzuto was the last guy.
No, I'm talking before that.
There was
So
Brad.
Brad Batten?
Yeah, there was Brad Bradman or whatever his name was.
The guy who looked like Jim Jeffries.
yeah.
Okay. So
Matthew
it was,
Guy,
yeah.
John Pizzuto,
Pizzuto,
Brad Bradman,
Brad
whoever
Batten.
we have now.
Jess Wilson. Jess Wilson, look, I mean, I'm getting a lot of emails from it. They're pushing it hard.
Why are you getting emails?
I think I was in... This is the other thing with databases. We could get a whole thing about this. I was in Higgins, and who was my member there? That was...
It would have been Kelly
O'Dwyer.
O'Dwyer.
And I think I ended up on her mailing list because I responded to a survey.
Oh, that's how they get you.
And now I'm in the Liberal Party. I
And
get
now
Michael
you're voting for
O'Brien's-
One Nation. That's how
Yeah.
it happens, Adam.
Yeah.
They blow
Anyway,
up
don't
your
get me started
inbox.
on that. Anyway, Jess Wilson, I think, has the potential to be a much more effective opposition leader because she looks genuine. She's younger.
Well, you
She's
know
not
her name,
just a stale white guy.
so that's a good start.
and I think
not
and
Brent
she's
Benton
got
or whatever his
she's
name
got
was.
stuff. She's got ammunition now to hold the government to account. She can go
Yeah.
after people,
Which
and
they
stuff.
should.
But whether or not it's successful will be another question.
Yeah.
Probably not. What was the other guy? There was a guy. It was like
Brendan
name is-
Bertram.
no, not Tim.
No.
It was like the guy who looks kind of like
Michael O'Brien.
Michael O'Brien.
O'Brien, he was one.
Yeah, man, they've really just
Oh, was he Vic Lib? I thought he was like federal Lib.
no,
Vic
Michael
Lib.
Michael
yeah.
O'Brien. All right, yeah.
There's
they're
been a
all- they're
litany
all,
of-
They're all Matthews and Johns and
Yeah, there've been a lot,
Michaels and
a litany of translucent white men named Matthew, Tim,
Yeah.
John, Luke. It's about all the apostles, basically.
yeah.
But I think we will hear more about this. I think it will actually. I think Labor's, like Jacinda Allen was the transport minister when this was all happening. So, not maybe the transport minister, but she was the treasurer or something. She was what's his name? Dan Andrews 2IC, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I just think there might be more to hear
Dan
about this.
Andrews.
You see, the thing is,
$15 billion.
That's a lot.
Guys.
It is a lot.
$15 billion worth
it is
of
a lot.
corruption.
In
Money
a-
going to bikies. There was paying for strippers and shit. There's crazy
That's-
stuff
yeah.
alleged in this report.
I don't know. It sounds like a good time.
in a state budget as
in a
well.
state budget.
Yeah, it's a
Meanwhile,
lot.
Tasmania's freaking out over $900 million for a stadium.
God,
Right?
you know how many nights
Tasmania-
with bikies and
Tasmania.
strippers that would buy?
Tasmania.
Do you know how many? That's like 50,000 lap dances.
Tasmania they fucking called an election because of $900 million. Meanwhile, Victoria's like, 15 bill, don't worry about it.
We got a lot of money sloshing around at the moment.
Man, it's pretty bad.
it's not good.
George,
It's
that's
really bad.
$1,800 a lap dance. I just wanted to crunch the numbers on $900 million to 50,000 lap dances.
Well, you go into the VIP
That's-
room, or
Yeah,
you
that's
yeah,
that's less than I expected when
shelf.
you threw that number out there.
only the good stuff.
And this should be the top story, but it's there's so much other shit that we have to get through and we have to move on again.
It's not
Anyway.
even in the C block; it's the D block before we move to the America stuff.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about America yet. And America
Okay.
popped off
All right.
this week.
America was popping, but
Quickly to America.
quickly. Yeah, I'll just quickly do America. Fuck you, Adam. So, in the interest of preserving Adam's fragile mental health, we decided to put America at the end of this week's episode. And so there's been a couple of developments. So
Just a couple.
a couple. So Tom Homan did announce that they were going to be pulling all of the ICE agents out of Minnesota. I'm yet to see that actually sort of happening. Tim Walz got out there and said, great, get out. I'll pack your bags for you. Fuck off. But yeah, as to actually whether troops are still there in the streets or if they're sort of still in the process of leaving, it's still yet to be determined. But that's the announcement, is they're going to be leaving. They've also announced the wrap up of their operation in Maine, ICE and Border Security. So it seems like the protests that have been occurring in these cities and the sort of mutual aid movements and people supporting each other and blowing whistles and all that sort of stuff, that kind of protesting has actually been pretty effective at driving ICE out of the city, which I think is a massive win for Democrats and people, democracy fans. However, there's been a litany of additional revelations with regard to the Epstein files and who's in them, and it's sort of, endangering the leadership of Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister over in the UK, because of his close fraternal relationship with actual nickname, Prince of Darkness, Peter Mandelson. So there's been lots coming out. It's weird that all the accountability is happening in countries that aren't America, given that the people that are in the files are chiefly American. But so there's all that happening. That's all just backdrop is just more Epstein files. And with regard to that, Pam Bondi was dragged in front of Congress this week in her role as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer, the Attorney General.
And it went great.
It went so good.
Yep. She probably went home and was like, Pam, you smashed it.
Yeah.
She's a Olympic figure skating champion. Just dancing around in circles.
Just dancing and twirling with Grace and Elan like a graceful gazelle.
Yeah,
running circles around those Congress people. There's no way that they could best. No, obviously she was terrible.
Yeah. Quadruple pirouette and right onto her ass.
Face plant.
It's the only time I can ever say that I would want to use the phrase crashing out and like really mean it. So this is Pam Bondi crashing out. Again, don't talk during the clip.
Interest in these politically motivated investigations, grasping at something they can charge their enemies with. We now have concrete evidence of disgusting criminality revealed in the Epstein files. So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people. I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
Reclaiming my time.
I think it's very interesting.
And you can reclaim your time.
He talks about they indicted. The president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go.
Committee will get order. The time belongs to the gentleman from New York. We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you ask a question, the witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman,
my time.
Because it's honest. So he asked a 4-minute question.
Restore 45 seconds, Mr. Nadler, please, Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I said that already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler.
All right.
My time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0.
Just incredible. I love just how chaotic that was, even not just from Pam Bondi, but just like that guy going like, reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. I said reclaiming my time. She's not following the rules.
So there's this whole funky structure, the way they do things where like everyone's got exactly 5 minutes and you need to like present your case and like get it all out in 5 minutes. And then what typically happens is that the person who's on the stand does exactly what they said. They're filibustering, starts talking and saying, well, you did this, you did it. Normally these kind of hearings are like fairly adversarial, but not like this. This like Pam Bondi was crashing the fuck out during this exchange, so calling him a loser lawyer and all this sort of shit. Like that is legitimately crazy for the Attorney General of the United States to just be like bitching at Congress. Like it completely, and all the stuff that she was talking about how, starts going into, leveling attacks. And what did you do with, they literally photographed the notes that she had with her. Someone caught like a high-res photo of the notes she had with her. It was like every member on the panel and like shitty things that she'd like prepared for each of them to deflect with. It was crazy.
She had like, she had notes. She had sort of like things to get them with. Like, can you, the tactic of can I divert this conversation to be about something that I can poke them with when it has nothing to do with the Epstein files.
But Tom, this is the best quote. She goes, the fact that we're even talking about this when the Dow is at 50,000 is insane.
So you're being so unfair to Donald Trump. Like
what are you talking about?
The markets are doing so good. Who cares?
We're talking about
pedophiles?
Child sexual abuse. We're talking about a global, international, elite pedophile ring. Her response is, but the Dow is at 50,000 points? I guess. I don't know.
It's actually 49,500 right now. So.
Okay, well,
okay, so now it's not okay.
Yeah, investigating pedophiles is back on the menu, boys. Let's go.
But as soon as it hits 50,000, then everything grinds to a halt.
Yeah, as soon as it hits 50,000 plus, it's like the purge. It's just everything's legal for a period of time.
Ding, 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 ding.
All I can hear when I hear her talk now, since the other night picked this up, and George said it, is Piper, no.
No.
It's Parker Posey from
the White Lotus.
And I was like, oh, it's the exact same voice.
No.
Piper, no.
So you're a
tsunami
Buddhist now? Tsunami.
That's nice.
It's just... Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, to see her being that hostile cause,
hostile and entitled, calling him a loser lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, this is very unprofessional behavior.
And the Attorney General is meant to be like the lawyer of the country.
Yeah,
it really sounds like she's the lawyer of the president.
Yes.
Like, I am defending, I'm defending my client in court. My client is Donald Trump.
Yeah, but you normally don't yell at the judge.
yeah. Normally that will hold you in contempt if I've seen enough movies. And she said so many crazy things. Like, the Dow thing was nuts. There was a point when I think she used one of her one of her burn notes of like, oh, and
her burn book.
Yeah, I'll get this.
My God, she's such a slut.
Yeah, I'll get this congresswoman on this, and like goes off at someone. Like, why haven't you been? I forget what the actual context of the thing was, so sorry. I don't have the quote, but like saying why, you should be talking about X, and the congressperson was like, I have been talking about X. I actually do a lot of blah blah blah. But anyway, we'll get back to you. And she's like, oh, I bet you will. It was like, yes. You are here to testify. That is the entire purpose of this endeavor, is for us to question you. That's why you're here. Like, says it so matter of factly. And at some
that's
point,
what it says on the tin.
Another
it's your testimony.
Another congressperson, in anger, called Pam Bondi secretary, and she said, "I'm Attorney General," and they went back with, "Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't tell." Like they were just going
really
in on
bitchy.
each other. Like,
I was really waiting for the Real Housewives moment where someone gets a glass of Chardonnay thrown in their face. Like it was cunty in there.
It really got hostile and crazy. But yeah, just like, I don't know. Like the fact that you're crashing out this hard when people are asking, like, why aren't you investigating the litany of evidence of these pedophiles?
Yeah,
like, and just being like, how dare you ask me that? It's like, how did you think this was gonna come up?
Who was the chair? Was the chair Jim Jordan? Or was
Jim
that
Jordan?
The chair was Jim Jordan. Yeah, and Adam, you'll be interested to know that Jim Jordan, in fact, one of the Republican Party's top inquisitors in Congress, had a deposition in July of last year. What was that deposition about? Allegations that he failed to protect wrestlers that he once coached at Ohio State University from a sexual predator, as 4 plaintiffs in lawsuits against the university have told NBC News. So he was the assistant wrestling coach at the university from 86 to 94 before he got into politics. He has repeatedly and publicly denied any knowledge that the team's doctor, Richard Strauss, was preying on the athletes. Yeah, so multiple people from the university at the time have essentially accused Jim Jordan of being a liar. Ike D. Sabato, who wrestled for Jordan and was the first former OSU student who publicly accused him of having turned a blind eye to the abuse Strauss inflicted on him and his teammates, says he does not expect Jordan to say any more than he already has. He hopes Jordan will, quote, finally come out and admit that he knew Strauss was doing unnecessary prostate exams, doing unnecessary genital exams, taking multiple showers with athletes, all while being employed by a university funded by the state of Ohio. Another Strauss survivor, Steve Snyder-Hill, said, quote, I expect him to lie under oath, Snyder-Hill said. I don't know a nicer way to put it. It's, again, under the guise of, it's just like multiple people have said they find it impossible to believe that he had no knowledge of what was going on there, and to be so intimately acquainted with a case of, so closely tied to a case of rampant sexual abuse, and to now be running this inquiry is just like laughable. But this raises a point which I mentioned to Adam earlier. How crazy would it be if Matt Gaetz was successful in his nomination for Attorney General, and he was the one in Pam Bondi's chair instead.
You mean the Matt Gaetz who's been found out in a report that he
found to have paid for sex, underage sex? Yeah. That guy, that Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz?
Yeah, the very same.
Yeah.
The fact that Trump knew all of this was on the table, all of this was likely to come out, and he's like, you know who my pick for Attorney General should be? The guy who sent teenagers money for sex. Matt Gaetz. Perfect choice.
I honestly, I don't want to live in that timeline, but I want to see this hearing.
I want to do the interdimensional TV episode. I just want to see that hearing with Matt Gaetz as the Attorney General.
Yeah, can I just see it through a magic mirror or something? I just want to watch it happen.
Oh, delicious. Yeah, so it's just they're just, as you say, Adam, they're performing for an audience of one. Or was it Tom? You said that she's performing for Trump, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's just acting like his personal attorney,
his personal lawyer. But this is a performance. All of this is a performance for Daddy Trump, because she knows he's the only one whose opinion matters is Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
So she's going to say and scream and yell and come in with her shitty burn book and insult.
Call people losers and stuff,
it's just so ridiculous and unprofessional, but she doesn't care about that. She knows where her bread is buttered, and it's with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So she'll say and do, and that is a terrifying position for the Attorney General of the United States. It's meant to be like the one fucking guy in the room that's like, Mr. President, we can't bomb Cambodia because it'd be illegal.
Yeah, they're supposed to be impartial as well, right?
They're supposed to be kind of at arm's length in a lot of respects from the presidency, because of the important function that the Department of Justice serves within the American, structural framework, right?
Yeah.
The fact that, Nixon abused his relationship with the Department of Justice was the chief thing over which he had to resign. So,
yeah, it's what they impeached him on.
The fact that she is so willing to just pander to his every thought and whim in a way that's so obsequious, so over the top, is just it's gross, but it's also just very concerning. But all of them are like this. It's just I have no theory of mind for these people.
Yeah.
I think they're just evil at this point. I don't know how
it's
else
where
you can characterize it.
Daddy Trump's the man behind the scenes, doing all the stuff, but his mouthpieces are also still accountable for this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And bro, I was watching this exchange and all the other stuff that she was talking about during this hearing, and I was just like, way to generate content for your Nuremberg trial, bro. You just that's artifact A, that's artifact B. I'm just let's take notes, because we'll be referring to this clip in The Hague.
And there is hope that the surge towards authoritarianism can be averted, and that can be seen in the country of Bangladesh. So Bangladesh had its first national election since the student-led uprising in 2024, and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has won that election. The party chairman, Tariq Rahman, is set to become the country's next prime minister.
And their first proper election, like a democratic election,
this is their first
a long time, right?
Over 10 years. So this is why it's important. So over the last 10 years in Bangladesh, there has been a slide towards sort of not fair elections, basically. So either the elections
less liberal democracy
have been rigged, or the opposition parties have pulled out and abstained from running because of perceived rigging. In fact, the current prime minister was jailed and had a bunch of charges laid up against him for quote unquote corruption, which he's since been cleared of all this. A way of
getting rid of the opposition.
Yeah. So you may remember
similar
a bunch
sort
of
of
people
thing that you see in Russia, with who was the opposition leader in there who was murdered?
Navalny and stuff.
Navalny, yeah. So it's all these. Anytime there's an opposition leader that gets enough popular support with the people, it's like, we just discovered he's corrupt. It's like, well, what about the 10 guys around you who all live in palaces? Are they not corrupt? It's like, no, but they're with me. It's all good.
So why is this a big deal? So Bangladesh is a pretty big country. It's 175 million people, so it's fucking huge. And most people have said that this has been a completely fair and transparent election from day one. And they also passed, as part of this, a referendum to improve basically the democracy. Basically, it's to sort of just try and prevent, a slides to authoritarianism, and that referendum got up as well. So, it is proof that, after a student-led uprising where a bunch of people died, the former Prime Minister, Hasina, she had to flee the country and is now sitting in India somewhere, New Delhi. It is proof that countries can avert this slide.
Throw off the yoke of oppression.
They can. You can come back to democracy. And
fascist regimes are not good at longevity, right? Hitler always talked about his 1,000-year Reich, but really, when you think about it, from woe, go to woe, it was what, like 12-ish years that Germany and the world had to deal with, the Nazi Party as a large, sort of relevant political entity. Like, these are not. There is something that's in the literature. It's getting a little bit sidetracked here, but in the literature about fascism, it talks about the death drive. Like, fascism as an ideology is inherently kind of nihilistic. It trends towards darkness. It is an ideology that destroys itself. And so, whilst for a short time you can capitalize on people's grievances and hatred of the other and hatred of minorities, and you can use
at a certain point you run out of people to blame.
It burns bright, but it burns fast, and it burns out. And what people realize really quickly with the Nazi Party, with all of these far-right parties that are gaining traction in Europe, is once you elect them, they actually don't know shit about fuck. They do not know how to govern, and they drive the country into the ground, right? This idea of like this kind of like nihilistic death drive means that fascists in the current 21st century, fascist governments can't really last, because on a long enough timeline you have movements like this where the majority of people will, you get a students' movement, it might take decades, it might take years before you get to that point. But on a long enough timeline, all of these fucking regimes fall. They fall hard, every single one of them, right? You look at,
Soviet Union.
Whatever.
Yeah.
On a long enough timeline, it just can't last, because that level of political repression is just not, it's just too difficult to keep up. Right?
There's a monologue in Andor.
That's 2 Andor references
in the one episode.
And I haven't even watched Andor.
What? Watch Andor, you crazy man.
Watch Andor.
The first episode didn't grab me.
No,
Tom,
watch it.
Tom, you need to log off immediately.
Go and watch Andor. There's a monologue in it where he literally, he becomes an important character, sort of symbolically, I think. He literally describes what George said, is that dictatorships crumble because they can't, that there's too much happening. They can't control everything because it takes so much energy to control everything. So I can't remember the exact line, but it's exactly the same thread. But anyway, what's been really positive in Bangladesh is that, people were, they had they were selling cakes and stuff outside the election booths, and,
democracy cake.
And people who hadn't voted in, because they don't have compulsory voting, and it was a 42 to 60% turnout, somewhere around there.
That's a lot for 175 million people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people voting.
Yeah.
What was I trying to say? People who hadn't voted for, decades have rocked up to vote. So it shows that there's a trust and a renewed faith in the system, which is happening in Bangladesh. And why does that matter? Because Bangladesh is an important country. It's a large country. It is, they do a lot of the global apparel is manufactured in Bangladesh.
It's responsible for a significant portion of the world's clothing trade, yeah.
But they also, they want to diversify. They're a developing country, and they want to, diversify their economy and provide better opportunities for the people who live there. And, if a developing country can push through this, there's no reason why so-called, developed countries like the United States cannot potentially come back from it.
Would you say that it's an encouraging sign that people could shake off globally
No, Tom.
their oppressors?
Careful, Tom. You're in New South Wales, buddy. Careful.
Like some kind of...
No.
Global shaking off.
Yeah. Like
Global.
the Eras Tour.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Taylor
Shake it
Swift.
off.
Yeah.
Shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off. A final story of the day, as we finally limp over the finish line. You'll be pleased to know that the Trump administration has unveiled its cartoon mascot, Coley. And there's a cute little graphic here. I'll share it for those watching the stream of little AI Doug Burgum hanging out with Coley, who's a little guy, just a piece of coal with eyes for some reason. Yeah, that's a thing that exists for reasons that are unknown to me.
Aww.
He's wearing a little hat that says "Mine, Mine, Baby," and he's got little googly eyes on a piece of coal.
Nice. Oh, and the coal's like a little shy and embarrassed. It's got rosy cheeks.
It's
Isn't
cute.
that nice?
And that is meant to make us stop remembering that the sea levels are rising and we're all going to die. So,
I mean, it stopped me thinking about it for a few seconds. And then you brought it back.
multiple seconds, yeah.
And then you brought it back. I miss Coley.
You guys want to get high?
I feel Coley maybe. Oh, well, it is a cute little face. It's more like, you want to dig me out of the ground?
So
you
is the
dig
coal
me real good out of the ground? I'm under the Great Barrier Reef.
Now...
And then we set Coley on fire.
Yes. I'm melting.
Yeah. Think about the good times we had together. Don't toss me
You
in the
son of a bitch, I'm dying, I'm burning.
Actually, no, it's probably more the other way around. Coley would be like, throw me in, Larry. He's like, I can't do it, Coley. I love you too damn much, but you have to. It's my purpose.
There's a Disney film somewhere in there.
And that's how Scott Morrison got the piece of coal that he took onto the floor of Parliament.
Oh, man.
Spoke to him, literally.
The primary federal agency responsible for regulating coal mines in the US debuted a new cartoon mascot named Coley this week. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, in a social media post, celebrated the lumpy character wearing a hard hat, boots, and vest with a shortened acronym for the Office of Surface Mining Reclamation and Enforcement. Mine, baby, mine, at POTUS, made it a top priority for Interior to unleash beautiful, clean coal, and OSMRE is leading the charge. Learn more about how Blur is advancing POTUS's American energy dominance agenda from their new spokesperson, Coley, the secretary wrote on X. They must really think we're fucking stupid, right? Like, this is what they think of you. This is, like, everyone take note. This is what they fucking think of you. This is what they think when they're trying to persuade you. They're like, these dumb fucking plebs, this is all they need is a fucking cartoon character with googly eyes on it and they'll be fooled. This is what the fucking elites, this is what they think of you. This is how dumb they think you are. So don't fall for it. Be Bangladesh. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you listen to us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at our handle at Unnatural Show. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and TikTok at George Tsipos.
You can follow me on Threads at tom.heath.
And don't follow me anywhere.
Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We'll see you next week.
Speaking of free and fair elections, did I tell you guys I was like the election integrity officer at a dog pageant today for Mardi Gras?
It's Tom, we're an hour and 40 in. You can't fucking bring this up now and expect us to... I'm sorry, that's like a minute one. That's how I would open the call.
That's a lead story.
That's the A block.
I was
going to
mention it up the top, but nah, we didn't get there. So
who won?
There were 3 rounds, so there were several winners. Not my favorite. I could have rigged it. I had the power, but I take
it was totally rigged.
Totally take the responsibility.
Everybody knows that Bloodhound had it in the bag. They stole it from him. Stop the steal.
Yeah, It was a free and fair judgment. I took my responsibility very seriously, but Hunter the Cavoodle in the peacock outfit should have won.
Hunter the sleepy cavoodle. Nobody believes he won it. Okay, bye. I need to go to bed.